David Wright. Why don't you start us off?
Good morning. Good evening. I will be extremely brief. Wanted to welcome everyone to this event. I see some faces I haven't seen in a while, and I'm really, really glad to see them. I'm not going to take long. I just wanted to welcome you, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who will then turn it over to the rest of the crew.
Okay. Let's see. So thank you all for being here. It's arguing, my screen is arguing with me as to which one I get to see, but we're I'll keep fighting with it. We'll get it worked out. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, and thanks for your support. And I think just take a minute and catch a breath, because it's been a pretty wild ride the last couple of years, and we're still here, and we're doing pretty darn well, and that's in large part to all of you, our sponsors, our supporters, our incredible staff, and our partners. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everybody, pulling up their socks and saying, okay, let's go, let's do this. And so here we are. So with an incredible team of staff and supporters, sponsors, and donors, and the national park, we've been able to really do some incredible things. And you can move that slide up. A couple of years ago, we decided to have an event to reveal our annual report and tell you how we did. And the first year was great. There's some pictures there. And the last 2 years, we've done this, a virtual event. And so we thank you for coming, but we think it's important to let you know where we are and kind of where we're going, and also to say thanks. So the last week, these kids came to Dunes Learning Center, and they were learning about adaptations, but what they did was they got to build a snowman, and it turned out that none of them had ever built a snowman, or these kids anyway had never built a snowman, and no one had ever showed them how to do it. And so they had a blast, and it was included in the lesson plan and also their evaluations, and they really loved it and had a great time. And it speaks to what it is we do. We get people to have experiences that maybe they haven't had before, and learn to love it, love the experience, and love what we get to show them. So that's kind of how the whole thing works. You love what you learn, and learn what you love. We've done a lot of really cool, great adult programs, thanks to Zoom and Google Hangouts and everything. But we've been able to extend our reach into Canada and into other states that normally wouldn't come to an adult workshop. And so it's been very beneficial for us and the workshop participants, as well as the speakers and the partners, because the audience is growing. We have some that are about to happen. Dr. Erin Yeoman is going to be doing a presentation on the coast and the changing shoreline, and then the Wonder Women of the Dunes, part 2, and then forest bathing in person in March. And so we're very excited for all of that. Also, our camp registration is open, and it's filling up very quickly, which we're very excited about. Last summer, we were at a reduced capacity, and this year we're at a full capacity. So last summer, we kept it to 3 kids per cabin, and this summer we're not restricting that at all. We think it's going to be a blast. And we have added one more camp that will be delivered with partners, Wilderness Inquiry up in Minnesota, for high schoolers that have come to our camps in the past. There's a next level of taking them to the Boundary Waters canoeing at the end of the summer. And this will be the first year it's grant funded with the Forest Service, and we think that that's a really cool step towards what we're trying to accomplish. And this year has looked a little different. We have had a whole staff. So one thing we did this past year was we staffed back up for full capacity, and we have taken on all comers, and that includes virtual things, hybrid, day programs, and some residential. We've encouraged them, people that will come and want to do that and to be safe. Last summer, we had no COVID cases at all, and we haven't had any. We've been very careful requiring masks and everything else. And so that's really a good bar to, to keep. So we'll continue to do that as best we can. But the staff really has gone all out, and you'll see some of these numbers. The next one is Heather's done an amazing job, and with Michelle and the rest of the staff putting together the numbers of what we've done and what our impacts look like. And this is not a paper, it's not a brochure. Last year we went all online, and this year we are as well. I encourage you to go there. It's on our website and study it, because there's a lot of information in there, and there's links to videos and other things in case you've missed them. And it's really important because the ripple effects of what we do with your support. And so the total experiences, all of our numbers are, I would say, down from non-COVID years, but way up from being shut down years. So this is really good, and we are very excited. And the kids' experiences from camp, as you can see the pictures, you can see the smiles shining through those masks. We had, as I said, we staffed up completely. We've had 19 interns and a fellow again this year. We have 2 of our fellows from last year, Nate and Kayla, on with us tonight. And here's a picture of Sierra, our current Karamita fellow. As I said, the reduced capacity, so only 227 summer campers, but every one of them was happy. And we've done a lot of STEM Strong education programs that you'll learn a little bit more about, and hopefully learn more about in our annual report that's online. But the far-reaching impacts of these are really incredible. A number of hours spent outdoors, and we are so grateful for all of you helping us to accomplish these goals, these numbers, and having these effects with these kids. So I could brag all night. When we talked, we said I was going to not talk for very long because I could go for hours and you would all be asleep. But instead, I'm going to hand it over to Erin and Heather, and to try to keep your interest a little longer. You can come hear me brag and talk about this anytime, but not everybody else. So Erin Crofton, our education director.
And I'm Heather Hahn-Sullivan. I'm our director of development and marketing. Yeah, it's both of us. So we're gonna tag team a little bit here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, as Jeff said. And all the time we talk about the effects of our programs, the impacts of our programs. And one of the ways that we do that is to talk about the lifelong learning model. And that's something that we started a couple of years ago in our annual report, as we started thinking about sort of what we do and how we do it, and how people, kids come for an introductory experience, either on campus, at an open house, or come canoeing with us. They start small and build up. So they have that first experience, and they come back for a school group visit. After that, we ask teachers to nominate kids for scholarships to come back for a week of summer camp. And so, kids have this sort of growing experience through our programs. And then after they've gone through summer camp and hopefully our high school camp as well, we ask people to come back as interns and work for us. And so that's we have 2 internship programs, which Erin's going to talk about, but it's a way for people to really live out the things that they've learned with us and throughout their lives. So it's a great way for us to sort of think about the longer range effects of what we're doing and what environmental education can be. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin to talk about our Naturalist education program.
Thanks, Heather. So hello, and I just want to say thank you again to everybody that took time of their evening to join us. My name's Erin. I'm the education director. I've been with Dunes Learning Center for about 9 years now, and I'm just so super proud of how far our internship programs have come so far. Big difference from when me and Jeff first started. And so I'm excited to talk about that a little. So to start off, just to make sure everybody knows like what the Interpretive Naturalists do and who they are, they're the key frontline members of the team. They are the ones that are responsible for providing those meaningful experiences for the kids and the adults, that come for our residential programs. And they're the ones teaching them, the diversity of all the ecosystems here at the Indiana Dunes, the ecology, the natural history, the cultural history of the dunes. And they're doing this all year long and in all types of weather and with all types of people and all ages. And it's a lot. It's like the dream job, right? Not only are they like sharing all of this amazing information, they're and educating. The work that they're also doing is they're helping students create those connections, the connections with their place, the connections with nature, the connections with their teacher and their fellow classmates, the really cool naturalist person that they're just meeting for the first time. So there's like all these connections that are happening when kids come to these programs, and the naturalists are the ones that are helping those kids build confidence and develop that sense of place, allowing the kids to explore and look under logs and walk across logs and, letting them ask questions and slowing down and taking that time to then reflect on whatever they just did. And wow, how many times do we not take the time to reflect in our day? So and then working together as a team. So there's like so much more even beyond, the educational part of, the science and the history part. It's more than that. And it's a really big deal. This is a place that, kids can be themselves. And so that's interns, the interpretive naturalists are delivering these programs, but then their internship program is a program in itself as well. And so their time here, that when they're here for a year, this is the opportunity for us to help these next generation leaders receive training and coaching, which are 2 different things. Training and coaching to develop their naturalist skills, their research interpretation skills, their knowledge of the outdoors, and these different techniques, that go along with teaching kids and people in general. So they're not only learning from our leadership team that's training and coaching them, they're learning from each other because we provide those opportunities where they get to work as team. They're also receiving feedback from leadership, from their peers, from the campers, from the parents, from the teachers, all of the people that they interact with. This is a whole bunch of information coming in that really helps them refine their techniques and skills in this program. And so this is an entry-level program where you see this really fast growth that happens within a year and totally different. I can't wait to hear everybody's stories from, where they were when they first stepped in on that, that Friday in June to when they left us at the end of May. It's really neat to see. And our interns are prepared and set up to enter the workforce successfully, no matter what field they go into. So our methods are working, and that's like super exciting for me. The program has allowed us, we've made a lot of changes since the first time I stepped in, and the program has allowed us to hang on to the people that want more. When Jeff and I first started, the motto was like, these amazing naturalists get trained, and then they leave. They're trained, we give them all the goods, and then we boot them out. There wasn't this like opportunity to continue the work within the organization, and that's changed. And so there's I won't say a pipeline because I don't like that word, but there's like a web now. People can come here as campers, they can join then as cabin leaders while they're in school, then they can move on to be naturalists when they graduate, and naturalists can apply to stay a second year and become take a more of a senior and leadership role for a senior naturalist, or they can move into our outreach department and become an outreach educator, or they can some of our naturalists have become our amazing lead staff who have been here for many years. So the brain trust that's here now is really golden, and it makes our organization stronger. And it's really exciting. And one of the things too, when I came in was, keeping people here also means making this place a pleasant place to work. We all hear all the time, working for not-for-profits, right? Underpaid and overworked. That's the life I've always lived. And there's a give and take for that, but a big thing we changed was like 40-hour work weeks were put into place. Pay was increased. Professional development opportunities, are front and center for everyone on the team. And so this is a great place to work. And that's another reason we've been able to keep people here, and it's a wonderful place to be. So we just want to make sure, I want everyone who works here and goes through this program to feel like they're living the dream. And it's I know the fact that everybody's making a difference, because just about every time we have a program, there's a kid that says, "This is the best day of my life." And like, wow, like that's the best reward anyone could get, because you really know you're changing the world. So I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's stories, and I hope you are too. And I guess I'll pass this off to Nate Bebot, who's our senior naturalist, to share a little bit about himself and his experience. So enjoy. Thanks.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here, especially when asked to talk about being a naturalist, which is something I love to do. So I am currently the senior naturalist. I've been here since April of 2019, and I had the amazing opportunity for the 2020-21 season to be one of the first fellows for our fellowship program, and having the amazing support of and the funds from First Source Bank. So just forever grateful to have that opportunity to continue during a time of uncertainty, and to continue doing what I love. So as Jeff mentioned, I can talk so long about my time here and being a naturalist and just about DLC, but I want to keep it short and to the point. So, ever since visiting the Indiana Dunes as a kid, I'm from Whiting, Indiana, which is the very northwest tip, about 30 minutes away. And after visiting the dunes, my dream was to always live and work in the dunes at some point in my life. It's funny because my parents and I were just recently talking about this the other day, and how when I was younger, in about like middle school or high school, after constantly visiting the dunes during our spring breaks and our fall breaks, I would go online and I would look up like different properties for sale around the dunes and the dune area, and my parents would receive these phone calls from realtors, seeing if they wanted more information. They were just so confused, like, why are they calling us about this area? Only to figure out that it was just me requesting this information. So I truly mean it when I say that I am living my dream, living here and working here and being outside and sharing the experiences I love with kids. So my experience as a naturalist at the Indiana Dunes, or the Dunes Learning Center, has truly gone above and beyond the internship description that we send out when we are looking for applicants. And has truly developed and shaped me to the person that I am today, as an educator, a confident educator, a leader, and just overall an advocate of empowering the kids that come to us to live a life with nature. So not only did I learn so much about the ecology of the dunes, the rich cultural history of the land that I would teach to kids as we brought them to the wonderful places of the national park, but I also learned so many fundamental life skills that I can take with me. Some of those including strong communication, having patience, being a team player, and even in the toughest circumstances or situations carrying that positive mental attitude. So there have also been countless opportunities, as Erin mentioned, not only do we teach this curriculum to our students, but we also are challenged to work on ourselves professionally. I've had countless opportunities that DLC has provided to develop myself as a professional throughout my time here. Some of those including numerous field trips to State Park. We go to field trips to the museums, the Field Museum specifically, having the opportunity to attend conferences. I just came back from Portland a week ago for the American Camp Association conference with Alicia, and just learned so much, and was able to contribute some of my knowledge to other professionals in the field. Had the opportunity to present some of the amazing work the Dunes has been doing with our virtual programming at the Indiana State Parks and Recreation Conference. And then in addition, having trainings, multiple trainings that I was able to gain new knowledge from, as well as having the opportunity as a senior naturalist to practice my training to our naturalist. And last but not least, having the opportunity to work towards certifications. I was able to get my certified interpretive guide certification back in the winter of 2020, and one that I've been really working for even before working at the Dunes Learning Center was getting my certified park and recreation professional certification, which the Dunes and DLC was so willing to help me and support me on that way. So all things that can help me in my future endeavors. So in addition, my time as an interpretive naturalist has allowed me to also work with a diverse group of people that are just passionate, caring, and I'm just so lucky to call friends and family. And even having the opportunity to work with alumni and get in touch with our alumni network. When I was in Portland, a previous naturalist that lived in Portland allowed Alicia and I to crash at her place, and I got to learn about her time at the Dunes Learning Center. And in addition, Danny here, who I was really lucky to have in my trail group as being a teacher for his second grade class. So being able to connect with the alumni too firsthand is just a really cool experience and a different scope on that program. So not only has this position allowed me to fulfill my dream, but being a naturalist here has also given me and receiving encouragement and empowerment from the Dunes Learning Center to craft a new dream, a new vision as I continue my professional career in the field of environmental ed, parks and rec. And I am just forever grateful and just happy and just love the opportunity to be here these past few years as a naturalist. So hopefully I kept it just the right amount of time.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate sharing tonight. Well, I guess since you mentioned Danny, we should just move on to Danny then. So go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm Danny. I graduated from Purdue Calumet in 2015 with elementary and special education major. The wonderful, amazing Anthony Escobedo told me about the DLC. And I actually started back in 2014 as a camp counselor for a summer. Came back as a cabin leader in 2015, and then took a year off. I graduated, got my first teaching job, took a summer off, and then back in 2017, I came back and had the opportunity to be a naturalist. And I just wanted to say how much I noticed how much my kids benefit from being outdoors, and my students now, but even before I was a teacher, how much the kids at the DLC benefited from learning outdoors. And especially when I was going through the education program, trying to accomplish my dream of being a teacher, seeing how much learning that happens outside of the classroom. In 2017, once I kind of got the ropes under me with being a teacher, I use my teaching techniques and my outdoor and the outdoor environment to kind of, put that all together. And I do, and now being a teacher, the things I learned at the DLC, I still use to this day, all the way back from 2014. I do the moon rocks activity from the kids that were nervous on trail, getting them to talk about those crazy stories with the lifesavers, and the kids just absolutely love it. And rhodopsin and things like that. And so many science experiments. The kids love doing science experiments, and I love doing the science experiments with them and just seeing how engaged they are. Another aha moment for me was in teen camp. I actually had the opportunity to go with a few other naturalists at the time and take the kids fishing with our teen camp. And it was just so cool to see how many kids have never gone fishing, and just having that experience with them. Fishing is a big part of my life. So just to see that kind of roll over into the next generation, that was really awesome. Nate kind of mentioned some opportunities that I had that the Dunes gave me. The Dunes actually gave me the opportunity to get certified with Go Fish Indiana and get all those resources to continue that. And I have continued that. I actually started my own fishing club at my school. We had about, this last year, we had about 60 kids want to join. And unfortunately, taking 60 kids fishing with 1 or 2 volunteers, I had to always do a cutoff of about 25 kids. That's really cool. It's from ages 3rd grade all the way to 5th grade at our school. The Dunes actually helped me get that started, with Go Fish Indiana, and, using some of, the fishing poles, things like that. And then it kind of manifested into this big thing. We're sponsored by Cabela's now. We've done a lot of different things with that. And that's just another part of my life that the Dunes it's still with me since all the way from 2014. And to kind of put the cherry on the top of this experience, I've been able to take my 2nd grade students back to the Dunes for the past 3 or 4 years, and they get to experience it, and I still get to experience it, from an educator standpoint, just in a different capacity. So again, I just want to say thank you to the Dunes and how much they've changed my life, my students' life, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Danny. I'm so proud of you. I didn't know about the fishing thing. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome. They love it. And that's all thanks to you guys. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. All right.
We have a bus. Danny, we have a bus. Call us up. We can get 60 kids fishing with Paul and a bus. We'll make up an excuse.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
Amazing. Okay, who is next on my screen? I think that brings us to Kayla. Your turn.
Goodness, it's so hard to follow up those two. Well, okay, everyone can hear me okay? Awesome. So I'm Kayla Gruen. I was a naturalist fellow from February of 2020 to May 2021. I graduated from Purdue University main campus in December of 2019 with a degree in agriculture communication. And I heard about the naturalist position from actually being tagged on Facebook for a job posting. Never heard of Dunes Learning Center before. I don't know how my aunt did either, but she's the one who tagged me and said, "This sounds like you." And she was right. I had applied for 12 other full-time jobs, but none of them interested me like this internship did. And I had a lot of doubts and fear about applying for a year-long internship following graduation because it's very unorthodox to do. Most people in academia tend to fall right into a full-time career, but that just was not in the cards for me. So had a lot of doubts going into it, but from the very first day that I stepped onto DLC property, I knew that that's where I wanted to be, and no doubts about it. I don't enjoy talking about COVID, but COVID plays such an important role in my DLC story. a month and 3 weeks after I had started, we were told that we were going to close our doors. And after having just done or led my first trail group, I was devastated because here, something that I had wanted to do and something that I fell in love with, I thought was getting taken away. And I went home crying, thinking I got laid off. My grandpa had just retired, and I was like, Grandpa, I'm going home. It was just not, it wasn't great. But I'm thankful for Karamita and for Source Bank doing fellowships for starting in 2020. That was huge for me because, you know, I didn't want to take for granted that I got to work during the pandemic. And I knew that a lot of people couldn't say the same thing. And being at DLC impacted my life in so many ways that I can't imagine not having worked for DLC. It was my safe haven. It was my great escape, especially in a time that was so hard for everyone. And so it just uplifted me in so many ways. I learned so many things about myself, personally and professionally. I came in to DLC with imposter syndrome, feeling like at some point, somewhere, somehow was going to, you know, discover that I was not meant to be a naturalist or that I was not good enough. And they're going to kick me out. But like Jeff said, and like Erin said, just truly an experience, you know, for people that have never experienced anything before. And naturalists truly get to learn what they love to do and where their skills are and where they fit. And while I, you know, didn't necessarily get to experience the job description in the same way that I had signed up for, it still was the best thing that I had ever done. You know, I learned so many different skills. I still got to carry out the mission of Dunes Learning Center, but in a whole new way. And to me, that just helped me grow so much, learning so much about myself and confidence. I think, you know, Jamie and I have talked about it before, where I came in being really scared to share my opinion, very scared to share what I had to offer, but at the end of my experience being very confident in what I had to bring to the table and what I had to bring to the team, being able to collaborate with the team. So that was huge for me, and learning what it takes to truly rise to a challenge that no one has ever faced before. And it just really stood out to me how much DLC invests in forming a really great team, because teamwork like I experienced during the pandemic was the best thing that I had ever encountered before. I loved our team so much, and just wouldn't change anything about it. Even on the days that we were very discouraged because none of us really wanted to be behind a computer, we still enjoyed being with each other, enjoying each other's company, and truly facing a challenge with each other as tools and resources to move on and to get past, you know, all the things that were scaring us and the unknowns. So that was really big for me. In fact, you know, with all of the virtual programming that we had to do, that's kind of how I was hired into the position that I am now. I am a community marketing outreach associate for Belster Milling in DeMott. They had been following along with some of the things that I had been working on for DLC, and were very impressed with my abilities in what I had been working on, that they wanted to hire me without me ever having pursuing them. So that just goes to show how much, no matter what way DLC prepares their naturalists for the workforce. It could be in the naturalist field, it can be outside of it, but I truly learned so much. And I hope to get back into environmental education sometime. But that's a little bit about my story. Like Jeff and Nate, and I'm sure everyone else, I could speak for hours, just because. Oh,
I have to interrupt you because you set yourself up for heated up that how non-confident you were when you started, and what did you do when you left DLC?
So I decided to apply for a pageant called Miss Earth USA, and I was appointed the title of Miss Indiana Earth. So that was my big confidence. I don't know what to call it, but that's just it's just is evidence that DLC really grew in me so many things that I didn't know about myself. So that was just so wonderful, and I learned so much, had a great time at the pageant representing Indiana. But I'm just truly so thankful for DLC. It means so much to me. In fact, my parting gift from Jamie, Anthony, and Nate was a necklace with the coordinates of DLC on them and a little sunflower, because my little avatar character during our virtual programming was a sunflower. So I wear this all the time. I hardly ever take it off. It just goes to show how much DLC really meant and still means so much to me. So thank you all.
Thank you, Kayla. Blazing trails. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I don't know how many more of these we can do. All right, next on my screen is Erin Yeoman. I love their name, Erin.
Thank you. I like yours too. Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Yeoman. I am the Natural Resource Specialist for the South Zone of the Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri. I manage about 500,000 acres on my zone for everything botany and plant guru related, and that's all because of things that I learned at the Learning Center. I have a degree in environmental law and policy, and it wasn't really until I started doing naturalist hikes and teaching kids about things that I had been taught that I started getting excited about plants and botany and that whole whirlwind. So I am a little bit of every one of you. Like Nate, I'm also from Northwest Indiana. I was born and raised in Maryville, lived the first 30 years of my life in Northwest Indiana. My mom was born in Gary. She lived in Miller. When she was single, she was a big beach bum, and therefore brought me and my siblings. West Beach was our destination every I don't know, at least 3 times a week during the summer. Like, we'd be hauling the cooler across the entire parking lot of West Beach. And that's just like exactly what I remember my whole life being, was growing up in the dunes and spending time there. And I just couldn't believe that as I was in college, I went to Indiana University Northwest, and I was getting pretty close. I was in my last year of college, and my advisor somehow just stumbled into this intern thing with the Learning Center. So this was 1999. This was in the way back machine of the Learning Center. This was like the second or third kind of group of interns. Things were still really rocky. We weren't really sure if the Learning Center was going to make it. It was all very exciting, but my advisor got together with Matthew Miller, who was the director at the time, and got me this internship that got me a few credit hours towards my graduation. I loved it so much that I decided to stay another kind of rotation on the internship. And yeah, the Learning Center just, it shot my whole life and career into a direction that I never would have expected. The best friends that I have in my life right now are the people that I worked with at the Learning Center. My best friend and travel buddy was she was the education director, I guess is what we called it back in the day. And those people are the biggest parts of my life. It's crazy. And the Learning Center put me in contact with so many people that I would have never had coordinated with otherwise, all of the NPS employees. And those folks really, again, kind of shot me right into the NPS. So as soon as I was finished with my internships at the Learning Center, I started doing interpretive programs. I was the Junior Rangers coordinator and ended up moving to Montana as an interp ranger for Grant Coors Ranch National Historic Site. Came back to the dunes as a fire effects monitor, got on at Indiana Dunes as, excuse me, on their fire crew, on their engine module. And that was my first permanent job. And fire kind of grabbed me by the horns and didn't let me go. I became a real big fire bug. And so that's where I kind of am today, bouncing between botany and fire ecology and fire management officer positions. And, like Kayla was saying that, you had doubts about yourself, right? Like I had zero public speaking skills. Like I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't even get up in front of friends. I was shy. And if you ask people that now, they would laugh you out of the theater, because they would tell you that there's no way that Erin Yeoman was ever shy, because now I'm a type 2 burn boss, leading giant prescribed burns and going out on huge campaign wildfires out west and leading hundreds of people and task forces and crews and just things that I never thought I would ever have the confidence to do. And it's no doubt because of what I learned at the Learning Center. And coming back to Indiana, so I've been on a lot of temporary promotions and details. And this past spring, I've been living in Missouri for 16 years. And this past spring, I came back to Indiana Dunes to detail in as their fire management specialist. And it was hard for me to leave. Of course, it was really great to be able to spend time with my family and during these crazy times of COVID. And it's all because of the Learning Center, and it just brings me back. I went to the Howe Roadhouse and saw that and was just kind of blown away, and sending pictures to my other friends. And it's just what a great opportunity, not only for young people who are taking the program and going through it, but for people like me who were recent college graduates to have this opportunity to just learn and develop. Like college would never teach you, nothing would ever teach you the skill set. And I'm just so thankful for it all the time. I really appreciate you guys inviting me.
Thank you, Erin. How exciting. Burn boss. That's so cool. Okay. All right, moving on. Wyatt, are you there? You're next on my list.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief, but back in 2014, I graduated from IU with a biology degree, and I went to a career fair, and I wasn't quite sure what I would do with my biology degree. I figured I would probably have to go to med school because that's what you do with that degree, but I gave my resume to all of these like pharmaceutical companies, and it seemed really boring, and I wasn't excited about any of it, which sucks when you're thinking about the next 40 years of your life. And then I went to these two guys with like flannel shirts rolled up, and they were telling me about these cool hikes they do with all these kids through the dunes. And I thought, well, you know what? I can get a real job later. I'll do this for a little bit. And apparently I've never gotten a real job based on that definition. So yeah, I was there for a year, and it was full of aha moments. I ended up with a career in interp, and then just recently transferred to a community ecologist position with the Division of Nature Preserves. But ecology, like that idea was introduced to me at the dunes. I remember we were going to hike at Coles Bog like during our training week, and to me, like we got there and I saw the trail, and I saw like a puddle and some trees, and I thought, oh, it's a nice walk through the woods. And then I remember Jamie like getting so excited about this vernal pond and all the salamanders that like breed in here, and that was that puddle. But then it became like this wonderful microcosm, and how these trees over here, like actually it's an endangered ecosystem. That's black oak savanna, and it's being restored. And like, oh, thanks, Erin, thanks for peeling back the layers on this wonderful gem here in Northwest Indiana. And it was just so fascinating to, like I said, peel back the layers and enhance your relationship with the natural world and impart some of that onto the kids that are there with you at camp. I just want to add one more thing. I said I'd be quick, but you know how naturalists are. Now, I had worked for state parks, and everybody knows that Turkey Run and Brown County and everything are awesome. And nature preserves, we manage, you know, the finest little bits of original Indiana, Fort Dune and Savannah, and all these cool little pockets all around the state. And we're always talking about, like, you know, how can we solve these various problems? Like, we need funding and we need support and we need volunteers. And the answer is, like, always like, oh, well, if people understood what we were doing and if people cared. And I just think back to when I was at DLC and talked to thousands of kids and they saw the stars for the first time because they grew up in Chicago, and just connecting so many cool things there. So I just have a whole lot to be thankful for. And really a lot of it started at DLC. So thank you.
Thank you, Wyatt, and congratulations again.
Yes, thank you, Wyatt. All right, I think we have one more on the list. John Mica, would you like to tell us your story? Hey.
Let me unmute myself. Everyone can hear me, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So I guess unlike other folks, I'm a little less qualified to talk about the Naturalist program, as I only rose to the level of a camp counselor, but I did that for 2 summers back in 2012 and 2013. So my experience is a little bit different, that during the days, during like the day as, you know, the cabin counselor, you're kind of the bookend of the camper's experience. That during the day, I was able to intern with some of the other nonprofits in the region. So I was able to work with the Paddling Association and then make a presentation with the Regional Planning Commission. So really, in short, it was just an opportunity to kind of get my foot in the door in the environmental community, not only in Northwest Indiana, but really kind of across the United States, just because you're demonstrating that commitment towards a cause and something that's bigger than yourself. And along the way, fell in love with the dunes, fell in love with the Learning Center itself. Now I serve on the board of the Learning Center and remain very close friends with Anthony Escobedo, who I worked with there. And currently I'm an environmental attorney, so kind of get to do a lot more of the boring work. Don't get to go outside really ever for my job or talk to kids or any of the fun stuff, but it still allows me an opportunity to kind of use my skills to kind of further renewable energy development in a responsible way. And really, it all started at the kind of the doors that the dunes open, not only for what's around there, but for kind of what you're trying to kind of do with your own career. So that's something that I've told Anthony and anyone that I can talk to about the experience, is that it really is that fundamental like foothold that you can really use to really go anywhere you want. So thanks for having me here, and it's amazing hearing everyone's kind of stories and how everyone has their own personal just commitment and experience to the Learning Center.
Thank you so much. It just occurred to me as you were talking, you were my first year I was in this position. You were that first summer for me. So
yeah, and
thank you for
like
making
Erin
it so
said,
much fun.
there was the way that it's like kind of progressed over the years, as far as there were no cows, there was no working farm, there was just, I mean, it's just changed so much, but at the same time, the kind of the soul of the place has remained the same. And I'm in Chicago now, and being so close, I'm going Saturday to hike Coles Bog, so it's something that just it sticks with you once you're there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. Now, I don't know, Heather, this might be something we're going to have to do more often. I want to hear where everybody's doing now and their stories. So, okay, well, being thoughtful of our time, where are we going next with this, Heather? What's next on the list?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I want to thank Paul and the National Park Service, because, you know, everybody that knows about us knows that, you know, we don't do this alone. We do it with the park on their property and their buildings with a lot of their help. And it's a pretty magical relationship that's not a lot of places have. And so it is really a great opportunity, and we work well together and really accomplish both of our missions better because of each other. And so thank you to the National Park, and thank you to Paul. Paul?
No, thank you. You know, if you haven't been moved by these last presentations, I don't know what else to say. It finally occurred to me that in addition to the almost 150,000 kids that have connected at the Dunes Learning Center, we have this cadre of adults who have worked there as naturalists and other things who are now infiltrating society in productive ways, right?
Yep.
And you know, talk about the light bulb going off. You know, it's not just about these school kids; it's about these young adults who are getting their start. And so, awesome. So the other thing that knocked my socks off tonight was seeing that first slide of kids building the snowman for the first time. I can't even fathom a kid not having that experience, and yet apparently that's not the case, right? And I grew up in the city, and so if we do nothing but give kids the chance to build a snowman, you know, high fives. I mean, that really moved me. And you know, I appreciate Heather taking a chance on letting me speak to you all, by the way. She's probably terrified about what I'll say, for those of you who know me. And it's great to see some of the former board members, and I see some of the current board members, and I want to say thank you for what you do. I had a chance to meet with most of the team today at the Dunes Learning Center at a remote site that we're looking at some vision for some potential future activities. And it was great to see everybody. Just really exciting. So I'm sort of following up with all these great experiences with my experience. This is my second residential learning center experience in my professional career. I was working at Cuyahoga Valley National Park when they opened up the Cuyahoga Valley Environmental Education Center. I really had nothing to do with the center, with the job that I had at the time, but I had kids that were there I was one of the inaugural parent chaperones for the first school group that went there with one of my fourth grade kids. And I think 2 years later, I went with my next kid who was, you know, in fourth grade. And so I was sort of a secret shopper for the Park Service to see what the program was. And, you know, what a terrible thing to spend a week at camp with your kid in a national park, right? And so I'm a forester and a wildlife biologist, and so I love the outdoors. And I learned some things at the Environmental Education Center. And so I talked to people about the Dunes Learning Center, our great center here. And it's better than Cuyahoga Valley's, right? It's easy, it's way better. And they've shared a lot with Cuyahoga Valley both ways over the years, but they're all very generous with their time and their talent. But COVID really was a test that the Dunes Learning Center rose to, met, and actually got stronger from it. And I have to tell you, there's 23 residential centers in the national park system, and some of them are gone because of COVID. They've closed up shop. And the Dunes Learning Center is stronger and has actually expanded their sphere of influence to the entire globe with their virtual programming. And so, you know, and this is maybe a bad analogy, but think of the restaurants during COVID. If you didn't have a drive-up window, you went out of business. And the Dunes Learning Center has a drive-up window for environmental education. And that window serves the entire globe. And so that blows me away. It blows me away to think about the outreach that has increased since this this global pandemic has tried to shut us down. And Kayla, your experience, your talk about, you know, the initial disappointment and then the growth experience, you know, that's exactly what's happening here. So fabulous. I get to spend about a half an hour with the new naturalist and the new interns every year to welcome them to the national park. And I don't know how it comes across for them. You know, this old guy comes and talks to them, the government guy, right? Blah, blah, blah. But what I usually say is I'm kind of jealous of the work that they do, because what they get to do every day is transform young lives by using nature. And so as a city kid who grew up, you know, Danny, I would have joined your fishing program, because that fishing turned me on as a kid in the polluted urban Delaware River. But it was outdoors, and it changed my life, learning about the aquatic life. So now when I fish at work, I call it aquatic sampling, right? So people don't know that I'm actually fishing on the clock. I'm conducting an aquatic survey. How many different ways you can get a kid turned on to that night sky, catching that toad or salamander, or seeing, you know, a bald eagle, or whatever you see in nature. For me, it was the trees. I was blown away with trees. And so I don't know how many of you are able to support the Dunes Learning Center with a fellowship. I hope if you can, you do. But I hope if you know people who can do this, that you connect with them and you tell them what you've experienced tonight. And if you have a chance to learn more about the work that's done at the Dunes Learning Center, you learn more about it. I tell people everywhere I go that some of the best work at Indiana Dunes National Park happens at the Dunes Learning Center. And every time I listen to what's going on there and see what's going on there, I'm convinced that I'm actually telling the truth for a change. It is mind-boggling. And Erin Crofton, when you hear kids say that was the greatest day of my life, I can hardly say that without tearing up. Yeah, because I get it. It happened to me. So thank you for what you do. I am completely blown away by the entire team of staff and seasonal help and teachers and board members who come together at a crazy time, working with a crazy government, us, the National Park Service, to do this most wonderful work. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And Heather, you got anything to add?
No, that wraps us up. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight. We put the link to our annual impact report in the chat, so I hope you'll take a look at that. We'll be sending out a follow-up email this week, but we hope you'll take the time to look through some of the things that we've done and check out some of the pictures, and yeah, take a look. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to the Naturalists for sharing their stories. And you can be sure that we are going to get this posted online. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really can't do it without you. So your help and support and encouragement makes this happen. So thank you. Enjoy your evening and come see us either virtually or really.
Have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.